all these things, and this was put out on television, I think back in the late 60s or early 70s. So Mr. Kelton, though being a comedian, knew exactly what he was talking about. And when I was a young boy in school, the words "under God" were not in the Pledge of Allegiance, but added at a later date. Also, when I was a young boy, I looked to the veteran and looked up to him and wished I could be like them. I wanted to join the service of my country and do my very best, even before I was even old enough to think about it. I wanted to join the service of my country, do my best for them, and I wanted to and do my very best. I joined the Marine Corps on August 25th, 1950, over 62 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And the girls, I recall, all wanted to be nurses, take care of the wounded. I grew up in the 1930s and 40s and played taps for many of those that were killed in action during World War II. Standing at a graveside and watching the families grieve was pretty hard to take. But I continued on and got through it. And we have one small word in this American language of ours that I think is very important. Respect. 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 It's a small word and it means an awful lot. It means very, very much. That word means that we should respect our country. Right or wrong, it is still our country. Respect those around you. Remember, they can also have opinion. You may not agree with them, and that's your right. And every veteran actually signs a blank check, so to speak, that they will give up to and including their life, if necessary, for the freedoms we are enjoying today. Today we are recognizing veterans from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the Coast Guard. During their time in service, each veteran was taught to defend our country for you. No matter how many times I speak before a group, I will always say, and you can depend on it again next time if I'm ever here again, every veteran during wartime or peacetime gave up his tomorrow so you can have today. And don't forget that one either. That's a darn good one because that's true. We gave up our tomorrow so you can have today. Many have demonstrated against the wars, some of the wars that we were in, and that's their right. But they shouldn't be blaming the person in uniform. They were asked to protect our country and did so willingly. Our flag is one of the most recognizable symbols of our country. It has been burned, spat upon, torn, and desecrated in many ways. The veterans fought for and under that flag. To me, that is why the Pledge of Allegiance is so important. These veterans here today came home from the wars. However, many did not. Those you will see if you've ever been to a military funeral, you'll see the flag draped over the casket. Sometimes it's even folded already and put on the casket, but it means the same thing. Either way, the veteran is still honored with our flag, and our veterans come from many walks of life. Doctors, clerks, teachers, lawyers, farmers, factory workers, almost anything imaginable, they would go into the service. And they all came together to do one thing, to protect you and our country. We know you can read your books, so you should thank a teacher. But since you're reading it in English, you should thank a veteran. You've probably seen that on the back of some of those honor flag shirts that we have. But it's a very true statement. War is never a pleasant thing, and most of us entered the service of our country at about 18. We grew up quickly in the service, and many of us at 18 or 19 saw things on the battlefield that no one our age should have had to see. We had our nightmares and troubled times, but we got through it. And if you know someone in the service or know a veteran, tell them thank you for what they did. To me, every day is Veterans Day. They saw to it that you've got all these days coming ahead of you. You don't have to wait until November 11th to tell them thank you. There have been many times while walking down the street at another time, wearing my Marine Corps cap or jacket, people have walked up to me and told me thank you for your service. Sometimes it kind of puts a lump in your throat because you're thinking about something at that particular time. You can't always recognize a veteran just by looking at them. But when you see them with their American Legion caps on, or the Veterans of Foreign Wars cap, or maybe the 40 and 8, you're sure they are a veteran. They have come home to pick up their lives and get back to normal. They are again a civilian and walk and work around you every day. They might be wearing a cap with a branch on it, or a belt buckle, or maybe even a jacket. These guys give to the state, community, and nation. They may complain once in a while, but isn't that their right to do so? Just the same as you have that right. That's what they fought for, to speak their mind without fear of retaliation. Excuse me. Today, and ever since 9/11/01, the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers of New York City, patriotism has increased in our country. But we shouldn't have to have a catastrophe to keep our patriotism going. It should never slack off. Some of our politicians want everyone to give up their personal firearms, assuming it will deter crime. But did you know the reason the Japanese did not attack the mainland in California during World War II? Because they knew the Americans had guns. We were in a depression. People had to hunt to eat. So they knew all these guns were out there, so they didn't bother with it. They knew they'd lose too much as a result. In the early 30s and 40s, if you didn't hunt at that time, you just didn't eat. You usually feel many times that it isn't, you don't understand or it isn't fair. Why some decisions affect you that you don't like. But as you grow older, you will find that life is not fair. You sometimes have a friend that has hurt you in some way, and getting even solves nothing. Remember, if your friend hurt you in some way, write it in the sand and let the wind blow it away, and then forget about it. When that same friend does something good, and you like it, you should carve that in stone and never forget it. Some hard decisions, you have to make some hard decisions and stick by them, hoping they are the right decisions. As the veteran has found out, being in the military taught us many things. But one of the most important is, if one of our leaders falls, someone else takes his place and continues on. This can also be true in civilian life. Don't always be a follower. Sometimes you have to lead. Make the right choices in your life and be the best you can be. You are the future of our country. You can be great and also make our country great. So assert yourself and move forward for everything the veteran has done for you. In life, it seems you are always waiting for the best things in life to come. They usually do. And today, most of you have cell phones, I'm sure. When you're on that telephone, you can't really concentrate on two things at once. So why don't we either pull off the road or just don't answer the call. You can call them later. Because that last call you make at that time may be your last call. You cannot concentrate on driving and talking at the same time. It's impossible to do. Let me see here. Texting, of course, is another distraction, and you know that is very much against the law. So pay attention to your teachers. You may not think a lot of what they teach you will be applied to in life. But believe me, it is. What you learn here in school will make your life much richer. Learn from your teachers. Learn from those around you. Don't always be the one talking. Listen. Listen to the veterans and what they stand for. The greatest country in the world. I have a short poem that I would like to read to you. The author is unknown, and it is entitled America's Veterans. I watched the flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young Marine saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in uniform, so young, so tall and proud. With hair cut square and eyes alert, he'd stand out in any crowd. I thought how many men like him had fallen through the years. How many died on foreign soil? How many mothers' tears? How many pilots' planes shot down? How many foxholes were soldiers' graves? No, freedom isn't free. I heard the sound of taps one night when everything was still. I listened to the bugler play and just felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times the taps had meant amen, when a flag had draped a coffin of a brother or a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, of fathers, sons, and husbands with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of unmarked graves in Arlington. No, freedom isn't free. So enjoy your freedom, young people, and God bless our troops and veterans. Since we are speaking about our veterans, and this is a Veterans Day, and many times have you read in the newspaper or heard on TV, so many men or women were killed this day in Afghanistan or Iraq. If you want to think about that for just a moment, you ever stop to figure that those men and women are 18 and 19 years old. They aren't men and women. They're still children. But that's what they call them. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I was 20 years old. And the guys were already calling me the old man because I was 20. You know, 20 is not old. And one day you'll cherish that moment. So keep cool, enjoy the rest of your life, and thank a veteran for that. I have just one more thing I'd like to share with you today, and that is back in September of 2005. On the first day of school, Martha Cothran, a social studies teacher at Robinson High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, did something not to be forgotten. On the first day of school, with the permission of the school superintendent, the principal, and the building supervisor, she took all the desks out of her classroom, every one. All they had was a bare floor. The kids came into the first period and they walked in and there were no desks. They obviously looked around and said, Mrs. Cothran, where are our desks? And she said, you can't have them until you tell me how you earned them. And they thought, well, maybe it's our grades. No, she said, it's not your grades. Maybe it's our behavior. She said, no, it's not even your behavior. And so they came and went in the first period, still no desk in the classroom. The second period, same thing. And by the third period, by early afternoon, TV crews had gathered in Mrs. Cothran's class to find out about this crazy teacher who'd taken all the desks out of her room. The last period of the day, Mrs. Cothran gathered her class. They were at this time sitting on the floor around the sides of the room, and she says, throughout the day, no one has really understood how you earned the desks that sit in this classroom ordinarily. And she said, now I'm going to tell you. She went over to the classroom door and opened it. As she did, 27 U.S. veterans walked into that classroom, each one carrying a school desk. They placed it back in the row, and it should be, and then they all stood along the wall. And by the time they had finished placing those desks, the kids realized, I think for the first time, perhaps in their lives, understood how they earned those desks. Mrs. Cothran said, you didn't have to earn those desks. These guys did it for you. They put them out there for you, but it's up to you to sit here responsibly and learn. To be good students and good citizens, because they paid a price for you to have that desk. Don't forget it. May God bless. Thank you very much. Always are. I've been here several times, and I hope you don't get too tired of me. And all right, veterans, please come to attention. Left, pace. Bugler, sound taps to salute our fallen comrades. Retire the flag of our country. Right hand salute.